Can Corla and colleagues, again, I welcome this opportunity to discuss these important matters and how the impacts it has for the over 1,000 workers that are involved in Debenhams and all their families as well as all the suppliers who also have stock in those places as well. But I think the focus of tonight's motion is very much around the employees and all that they've been going through for the last 100 days plus at this stage since they got that devastating bad news. And we all recognise the very difficult situation they're now in, and certainly as a country we're in difficult times, and they're one of the first companies, one of the first group of employees who were hit hard by COVID and the fallout from COVID, among other things as well. And they are probably, at this moment in time, there's a lot of recognition for their plight right throughout the country, and people are very much supporting them, and also there's a great recognition of the important role that all those involved in retail have had over the last couple of months, and a greater recognition by most people of the service they've been providing. A particular sympathy for those employees in Debenhams, because I would have met quite a lot of them over the years, because I probably would have shopped in them many times myself. I'm not sure what others did, but I certainly was in it on many occasions, and they were always of top-class service and very pleasant people to deal with and work with. And likewise, we found similar when we met them, both the Taoiseach, Minister Troy and myself have had a chance to meet with them, some of the employees' representatives and themselves. We met, I think it was Valerie and I won't say it was Angela, Carol earlier on today. And likewise, I think as some of the deputies have mentioned already, both Valerie and Carol have been working there for decades. I think Valerie was over 24 years in the service. Carol, I think, over 30 years. And she's from Tala herself, Valerie from Cork. So they're very much committed. And they put the case very strongly today. And we had a very good, successful meeting with them, solution-focused around what we can or can't do. The Taoiseach and Minister Troy and myself listened intently with them, and certainly were very pleased to have had the chance to meet them and to understand where they're coming from and what we can do here and what the government can do to respond, and how the legislation can work for them or cannot in some cases. So again, I want to stress the sympathy of myself and all my government colleagues for those Debenhams employees and for all those who have lost their jobs as a result of this as well. Again, we all recognise that Debenhams and their staff have given loyal service for many, many years and many decades as well, and it's an awful shame that this has happened on them and the pain that they're going through as well. You can see that today. Having given such loyalty, they really feel let down, and we got that sense from those we met before today, but also those we've met today as well. You can see it in their eyes, totally let down from having given dedicated service for a long number of years. And it's important that all of us have this conversation here tonight to see how we can help with them and focus on solutions as well. Again, we recognise that it's a difficult situation for themselves and their families, but also I'm acutely aware of the timing of all this during COVID as well, which is a difficult time for many people in the country. Government is working in a coordinated way to support everyone who faces the prospect of losing their jobs, and all those who have lost their jobs already over the last couple of months. The Job Loss Response Protocol has been activated immediately for the employees of Debenhams Ireland. This brings together all available supports and information for them, including on welfare entitlements, job search assistance and upskilling opportunities. And it's important that work continues, even though there's an ongoing discussion and debate, and likewise they have their own picket going on as well. But it's important that the state immediately, across all the departments and all the agencies, step up and do their job where they can, as quickly as they possibly can as well. At a broader level, when we deal with job losses and trying to sustain business as well, the government will publish the July stimulus plan this week, all going well, and that again will strengthen the position of the government's response on behalf of the taxpayers of this country to try to save jobs, create jobs, and to save businesses as well. As set out in the programme for government, the July stimulus will be followed by the National Economic Plan in October, which will be published on the same day as the budget. And I'm conscious that many colleagues here across all the parties will feed into that, have fed into suggestions and ideas around legislation already, as well as into the July stimulus plan that will be announced this week. In October, we will set out a long-term approach to restore employment and the economy. And I'm quite clear, as a Minister who covers retail, that the serious situation retail is going to be in was going through difficult times anyway in this country, a lot of changes coming at it, but that's got a lot more serious now, and we have a lot of work to do with the retail sector, working with them and all their representative bodies and their employees, because it's a very, very important sector with great opportunity as well, and great opportunity, and we have to expand that as well and build on that too. All these economic initiatives must be centred around employment, retaining jobs wherever we can, creating new ones to avail those opportunities to replace jobs that might be lost, and providing a strong focus on quality employment with good terms and conditions and work-life balance. And again, it was quite clear today in our meeting, and even before that as well, with the employees. So someone who's worked for 30 years plus in the service, the qualifications they've built up, that retail excellence they're able to manage, and they've a skill that's transferable to many other sectors as well. But we certainly want, I personally, me, as I've been previously a Minister for Skills as well, I'm very focused on the opportunity of recognising the skills of the retail sector and all those involved in working in it as well. Cancorla, I recognise that the workers at Debenhams have immediate questions and concerns regarding the redundancy payments that they will receive as a result of the liquidation of this company. Again, we met with the Debenhams workers' representatives to hear their views and concerns officially today. And again, it was clear from us in that discussion that the engagement between the liquidator, the company and the union representative employees has not yet concluded and is ongoing. And they're certainly working very closely together because they've had engagement in other scenarios before. It is important to say that the State will ensure that the workers of Debenhams continue to have their statutory employment rights recognised. It's important that we do that because there's quite strong legislation behind that, which we were discussing here last week as well. The Information and Customer Services of the Workplace Relations Commission are available to provide information relating to employment rights, equality and industrial relations matters, and have provided a very good service in doing so. I also recognise, and we recognise, that the Debenhams liquidation is court supervised and remains before the High Court. These legal proceedings will need to conclude, and it is essential that nothing prejudicial is said here tonight, and we bear that in mind when we certainly put forward the government's motions. The resources that are available to distribute in respect of monies owed to employees and to other creditors, including the state creditors, are not yet confirmed by the liquidator, and it's an ongoing piece of work around that. I acknowledge that this is an exceptionally difficult situation for Debenhams employees, and indeed for the very many small business owners who are suppliers to the company and who might have stock tied up in this as well. And the Debenhams employees themselves recognise that, and so does the union as well. They are also waiting for answers, and they are understandably concerned, because anybody in a small business now is in a difficult situation. I'm aware that employees of Debenhams have raised the issue of collective redundancies. The redundancy to be paid to employees in a collective redundancy situation is a matter between the employer and the employees in the first instance, and they had negotiated additional terms for themselves, and rightly so, over the last couple of years in that space as well. However, the Social Insurance Fund provides a safety net for employees in situations where the employer cannot pay statutory redundancy due to financial difficulties or insolvency. A number of legitimate questions have been raised over the last few weeks in general terms around, and again tonight, around the protection of employees' rights and interests when a company goes into liquidation. These are particularly pressing issues given the number of people whose employment has been threatened or lost as a result of the COVID-19 public health emergency. Responding to this, the Government made several important commitments in the programme for government. Specifically, the Government will review whether the current legal provisions on collective redundancies and the liquidation of companies effectively protect the rights of workers. Review the Companies Act with a view to addressing the practice of companies splitting their operations in advance of an insolvency, with the result that the assets are taken out of their original business. And examine the legal provisions around sales to a connected party following an insolvency, including who can object. The Taoiseach and our department are asking the Company Law Review Group to examine these matters as a priority. That work has been ongoing for a period of time now, and again we've asked them to prioritise that work. When this work concludes, the Government will be ready to act and propose legislation where this can achieve improvements. Cancorla, it has been noted that the Duffy Cahill report in 2017 made a number of recommendations on the protection of employee interests, focused on the Pacific case where assets are separated from the operating company. Again, that report was sought by both Minister Bruton and Minister Jed Nash at that time, working in that department. The Company Law Review Group has also made recommendations on the protection of employees and other unsecured creditors in 2017. These recommendations will be reconsidered as part of the work that the Government is commencing. This is important, not least given the more difficult economic conditions we face and the unwelcome prospect of more business failures and job losses into the future. Cancorla, it is necessary and right that we look to see how the statutory framework can be improved to better protect workers' rights, as the Government is doing. But we should not lose sight of the fact that we have a strong legal framework for dealing with insolvency, and this includes provisions to deal with improper actions. Under the Companies Act, a company cannot merely assert that it is insolvent. It must apply for an official court liquidation, and that will be under the supervision of the High Court. The Companies Act 2014 provides at Section 608 that liquidators or creditors of an insolvent company can, in appropriate cases, obtain a court power to order the return of assets which has been improperly transferred. The Companies Act also provides at Section 599 that a related company may be required to contribute to the payment of debts owed by the company being wound up. These and other statutory provisions and the associated civil and criminal penalties provide an important deterrent effect to improper actions by companies facing an insolvency situation. It is worth recalling that the Duffy Cahill report, which has been referred to, found, and I quote, "The provisions of the Companies Act 2014 that are already available do not appear to be in need of amendment, but more in need of use," unquote. So there is a strong and comprehensive statutory framework for dealing with insolvency already in place. No such framework can be a panacea for the costs of business failure, for workers and for other creditors, including other businesses. But the legal framework does provide clear remedies and sanctions where there is illegal conduct, as well as rights and protections for employees where collective redundancies are in view. Through the commitments in the programme for government, we will be looking to see how and where this framework can be further improved for workers. And again, that's work we'll do with all the members of this House as well. Across all fronts, the government will maintain a strong focus on job creation and on training and reskilling in the July stimulus and the forthcoming National Economic Plan. These are the government's priorities and commitments to workers, Debenhams and across our economy. I again, I commend the government's counter-motion to the House.
Thank you very much,